Hello, it's me, Angela. Welcome to yet another Tuesday live webinar through Connections. Thank you for being a member. Thank you through going any hoops you had to go through in order to sign up and then find us here with the link to our Zoom webinar. If you had any trouble getting on tonight, I promise in the near future, it will be much easier. Just as this is new for you, it is new for us. But we're happy that we can all join here now. Dr. Ray and Jean will be on in just one moment. And just as a reminder for those of you who might not have joined us before, if you'd like to ask questions, if you're curious about something that they're explaining, you can use the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen, or you can just type it in the chat box and I'll make sure to get it answered, or I'll do my best because Ray and Jean will be covering a lot of information. The topic tonight is numerology. I'm going to launch a poll and just tell me what you know about numerology, or maybe that you don't know much about it. If you've worked with Jean in the past, you might have heard about it, or maybe you read about it or worked with someone else concerning numerology. And what's really great is after we have this hour webinar where she's explaining more about it and using others as an example, there is an opportunity for you to do more work on it. Remember, if you're not able to stay for the whole webinar, you can always watch the recorded version. And any recorded live webinars will be available the next day. And you can always find it at the bottom of the Connections membership if you scroll to the bottom. Hi, Dr. Ray and Jean.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. It looks like you're in a different place now.
We're swimming with the fishes.
Just
Our stingrays back there.
Getting our view here set. Oh, we're looking at two of ourselves. Okay. All right.
So we're ready whenever you are to tell us more about numerology, the topic for tonight.
Fabulous.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Couples Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean.
And today we're talking about not just numerology, but we're also talking about compatibility. All right. So maybe I'll give a little, like kind of a precursor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the field of psychology, one of the things that we've always tried to study is compatibility, right? And one of the things, and some of the assessments that have been created, over the course of an entire field have tried to study that. The Myers-Briggs, a lot of people are familiar with that, right? And how to make sure that personalities are compatible with each other and what kind of personalities would have difficulties with each other.
And what kind of personalities go with doing what kind of job.
Correct, right?
And lots of things like that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, there are other assessments as well that assess personality and how people get along with each other, how people disagree with each other. Now, those are fairly new because there are a lot of other assessments that have been created over centuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them being numerology.
Right. So whether it's a Myers-Briggs or personality inventory, which there's lots of those, or
even 5 love languages. A lot of people are familiar with that, right?
Or astrology, or what we would call temperament. It all comes from someplace. And if you had one child, you know that your child was born with a temperament, things that they liked or didn't like, how much they liked to be held, how much they liked to be, if they were loud or quiet babies, or slept more or slept less. If you've had 2 kids, then you really know, because it's with one, you think it might be your parenting.
Yeah.
But with 2, it's not you, it's them. It's
totally
something they came in with.
Right.
And I heard this really great analogy recently when I was studying some astrology. And they would say, like, imagine that the sun, which, you know, rotates around we rotate around the sun one day for every day for a year. And every day is like hitting a key on a piano, like ding, and there goes the vibration. And we feel that, right? We wake up in the morning and we feel the day. You know, yesterday felt fabulous, at least in Chicago. It's a really nice day. It was warm out.
75.
Mm-hmm. And then today it was still warm, but it was really windy. And then it turned into this big storm. And so all of those things set the tone or the mood for who we are. And if you're a person that is prone to be depressed, then some of these like gloomier days are going to affect you more than other people. I know you need a lot more sun than I do.
I need a beach along with that sun too.
So I hide from the sun because I can get a sunburn by the moon, I think.
I think so.
And you need a lot more sun because you don't soak it up as easily as I do. I can be out in the sun for 15, 20 minutes and I'm done. I will be burnt. So we're all a little bit different like that. And one of the things that I love about things like numerology or other ways of assessing kind of who you are and what you came here to do is that it helps you feel like your life is really on purpose. That there are things that are reoccurring themes in your life that keep coming up. And it's not just because you're lucky or someone's trying to punish you. It's really because there's some more rhyme or reason to your life than you think.
So I think a lot of people think of numerology as kind of like hocus pocus, right? Or foo-foo kind of things. And, you know, or it's like magic or even determinism, like it's fate, like we have no choice, right? We are destined to be with a water sign or a fire sign or something. And so maybe you can talk more about that.
I totally agree. I think that everything should be taken with your own logic and intuition and your own gut feelings. I think there are people who try to rely too heavily on anything outside of themselves to tell them who to be or how to be in the world. And it should make sense to you intuitively. And a lot of times if I'm going to show someone what their numbers are and they're open to it, feels like magic. It feels like, oh, that is, so it describes me. And then they think, well, what if you just read a different one, like someone else's numbers? Oh, there's our cuckoo clock. And it's really off and it's a really interesting thing. Or sometimes you can like pick a stone and it'll almost like recap the last hour of your life. It's kind of crazy how that happens. But it is something that is here to help you understand the energy around you so that you can use it effectively or avoid things that might not be so good for you. It's not here to tell you who to be or how to be, because we have free will. And I think skepticism is a really important piece of it. So I like to study as much of the science behind it as I can. And numerology is found in the Kabbalah, which is a Jewish form of it's a form of Jewish religion. It's found in the Hindu religions. It's found in the one that we practice, the Western numerology, is the Pythagorean theory. Is that it? Who learned that about in like 6th grade? You learned about Pythagorean, right? And the angles. And that's what happens if you think about, like, if you're here on Earth and the moon is here and Mars is over there, then you have this triangle thing happening. And that's what he studied, was the angles and how that impacts us. So numerology is like way more simplistic. And so when you talk about a sun sign, like you're a Leo.
That would be a sun sign.
And I'm a Scorpio, which is a water sign. And if you just looked at those two signs, it would say we're not very compatible.
Right.
Right. But there's so much more to it. Your sun sign is sort of like saying you're American. Like how many Americans are the same, right? That's such a big topic. But then you could say, well, I'm an American and I live in Illinois and I live in Wakanda and I live on this street and I live at this address and I have this bedroom in this house. And all of those things are going to impact you. In the same way, I don't know if you've ever painted a room in your house, and it totally changes the energy of it. Oh, here's a fun thing about numerology. If you've ever changed your name, right? If you got married or something and changed your name, it takes, Ange, how long did it take you to feel like that new energy come through when you got married and changed your name?
I think it took a while, you know, and I just had the tendency to always say my maiden name for a while. I would say like 6 months or something, you know, a long time. And now I'm in the path where sometimes I'm seeing people who I haven't seen in a while or spoken to in a while, and they assume, you know, I still go by my maiden name, or, you know, they know me as a Liberato opposed to a Zender. So sometimes I'm reminded because other people remind me. And it's sort of sweet to be reminded of that.
Yeah. But it does feel like a part of you that, you know, got tucked away,
Mm-hmm.
and this new part of you gets born. So if you've ever gone through a name change, even if you've tried to, like in high school, change the spelling of your name. Oh, you changed your name in high school.
Well, I didn't officially change it. People started calling me Ray. My birth name is Ramin. And so when in high school, people they just, were lazy and just called me Ray, and it just stuck, right? And it stuck to this day. There's like half of my life where people know me as Ramin, and then the other half of my life, people know me as Ray. And it's very interesting when I come across people from that first half of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so all those things, they impact us in a certain way, and understanding that can actually be a helpful thing. It can help you kind of understand your kids better, understand good days to do things in your business.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is that there is a huge part of science that is just a big question mark.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot that we don't know, especially about the human condition, about just energy. When you walk into a room and you know that someone has been fighting, how do you know that? What are some of those energy that you pick up on?
Mm-hmm.
I think Carl Jung, he studied a lot about the archetypes, and archetypes are just about these energies that resonate within us.
Right, they're
Right.
forms that human energy can take.
And that was a huge part of his work and his life's work. And these things are there's not really a logical explanation for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I just wondered, how do you use numerology when working with your clients, and how does that impact them when they're trying to figure out who they are?
Well, one of the things I do is I like to combine a lot of things. And so we know that the cards, the deck of cards are a calendar. And so there is 52 cards, there's 52 weeks, there's 4 suits, there's 4 seasons, there's 365 if you add up all the diamonds, clubs, hearts, and spades, and they would use the joker for leap year. So the first thing I'll do is I will look at what day was that person born. And so the calendar, when the Magi would wander around in the desert, they would use the cards and what day it was. So we're looking at what card would be face up on the day that you were born. And then I would look also at their partner's cards. It's a very interesting thing to look at. And one of the things that's really interesting for Angie and I is we share that card, even though we're born on completely different days. Angie's born in September, I'm born in November. But it works out that way. When you do the mathematical calculations, we have the exact same cards, which I think is really interesting because you do this work also. And, we have a lot of other things that are kind of in common how we do things. Of course, we're also very different people in a lot of other ways. So that's one of the ways that I'll look at things. I'll also look at the month, the day, and the year that somebody was born. So your birth date, the month, the day, and the year, they call that your life path. And that is, kind of what you came here to master, like the master degree program you came here to work on. And the month, the day, and the year are the classes that you are taking to get to that. And I'll look at the month of the parents because that was the time of their life where the child was born. When you look at that, you see where your parents were, what lessons they were working on, and then now you're coming into the world and you have to tend to the energies that they're working on and then figure out yourself. And that first card's always read, in a negative way because we have no power when we're kids.
Would it help to kind of do an example? Do you think, Ange?
Absolutely. In our poll, when asked what people knew about numerology, if they were a pro, if they had heard about it, if theirs was done before, or if it's totally new, most people said that they did hear a little bit about it. And some people even said they've had theirs done before, which it could, fairly well have been done by you, Jean, right?
Could be.
So yes, we would love an example and let me know if you need any help.
Sure. So, when people say they've had a reading done or they know their number, I'm always like, which number are you talking about? There's so many numbers. So there's the number that is when you convert the letters of your name into numbers and you look at your name and you look at your life path, which is your birth numbers. And then you can look at specific things like your personal day, your personal month, your personal year. So those are really interesting. And sometimes when we do transformations, we'll look at the personal year and design the entire transformations, the chanting and everything around what type of energy is coming in for that person that year. And I had a client just yesterday, and I worked with her for a long time, and she's done a lot of different things that we offer. And I asked, what's the most impactful? And she said transformations. And she says, I remember you saying I wasn't like, you can't really articulate how it's going to change your life, but it does. And she was like, it really did. It really changed my life.
And that's a program we're going to be offering
in January.
Through Connections.
Correct.
And you know what? I just want to say one thing. Today, I was talking to someone who I've known for a while and who knows all that you all do, and I was telling them about connections. And the way I described it, because they already knew transformations, I said, connections is like transformations 2.0, where we used to meet in the office, for this extended group a couple of times a year. And now we can reach people online and, we have the capacity to see so many more people than we could fit in the office. Mm-hmm. So that's how I described it.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So yeah, you learning to use the energies around us is, it can seem woo-woo, it can seem a lot of things, but it is very impactful. And I mean, that's what we are. There's a quote in this book. Let me see if I can find it. It's a really cool quote. I'm gonna have you read it because I have my glasses on. I think that's it. You read that.
We are slowed down. We are slowed down sound and light waves, a walking bundle of frequencies tuned into the cosmos. We are souls dressed up in sacred biochemical garments, and our bodies are the instruments through which our souls play their music. Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. Isn't that fabulous? So basically what he's saying is we're just a bunch of atoms that are made up of light and energy, and we're slowed down to a certain vibration of matter. And we are animating this clay that we are made of, and we're always sensitive to things. That's why we have the thing called senses, right? We can see, we can hear, we can touch, we can taste. We can also intuit. Intuition, again, it's a very measurable thing. And what it is you have this vagus nerve that extends the length of your body, and you get a sense of something much faster than you can think about it. And they did this really cool experiment where they had a person sitting outside of a sliding glass door facing out, and they had someone in the house, and the person would either be looking at them or not looking at them. And the experimenter would say, are they looking at you or not looking at you? And they were 90% accurate. They could tell, oh, someone's looking at me. Oh, they looked away. Oh, they're looking at me. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. It's very difficult to measure.
It's a subtle energy.
Yeah. So right now is 2020, right? So this is a 2 that has doubled itself, right? So whenever you see patterns or numbers that double themselves, and people talk about that, like I look at a clock and I see 333 or I see 1111 or something like that. Those are things that people kind of intuitively go, oh, I think that the universe is trying to talk to me. I think that means something, right? Whether they know what it means or not. But so it's been a crazy year, right? So it's this 2 that's doubled itself. And 2 energy is about trust, partnership. I think of 2 energy like a handshake. Well, how much trust do we have in the world right now? At least in our well, the whole world with COVID, with our politics. There's so much going on of unrest, and it's amplified because it's got the 0 behind it, which is an amplifier, and then it's got this double 2 with an amplifier. And I think people feel it. People feel the unsettledness of where we are right now
Across the world.
And interestingly, if you were around for this, you felt that at the change of the millennium, where we went from starting with a 1, 1999, starting with a 2, 2000, and there was another, that unrest happened again. So this 2 energy is a little bit, I don't know, we're going into a whole decade of the 2. And so some people are managing this very well and thriving in it, and other people are collapsing in it. And it really is just about how are you going to use it? And, because of the work that we do, that if someone can say something to you and it gets you out of that mind chatter, it can just go and set you on a different course,
It gives you a different perspective, right? Kind of like standing on top of your chair and looking at the room versus being on the floor and looking at the room. It's a very different perspective and gives you more information.
Exactly. So if you're in a building that has one address, 55 Michigan Avenue, and you're on the first floor, what you see out the window, what you hear out the window, what you can smell is very different than in the same building when you go to the 55th floor and you can see Lake Michigan and it's silent and you can have fresh air. So it's very different. And those levels are exactly what we're talking about with the different frequencies. So
actually, really quick, right before you go on, and I know that you want to use maybe myself as an example, but our question, and it's a great one, how do we thrive in the 2020s? Well, how do we do that if 2 seems right now to be working against us?
Whenever there's a lot of upheaval, that's an excellent time to do it different. So I think if you're trying to do the same thing you've always done, you're probably pretty miserable right now.
I like to think of, there was this Fisher Price toy as a kid where there's like these 2 like octagons that fit together, and on each part of it, there's a square, there's a triangle, there's a circle, right? And you had these little pieces and you had to put them in the little slots and you had to put it in perfectly. Well, you can't jam a square into a circle. It just is not going to work, right? And a lot of times that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. You're trying to force something to happen. And the more you try to force it, the worse it is going to work, right? And so I think that that's a kind of a really great way of thriving in 2020. Don't try to force something to happen. And just kind of go with what feels like it's moving in that direction. What's the flow, moving you?
Yeah. And sit. If it's not going well, stop. Stop trying. Sit and recoup and build your energy back up again. The theme that I think is coming out really strong this year is this concept of detaching, right? So if you're holding something in your hand and you open your hand, that's letting go. That feels so easy. Just let go. But if you have a burr stuck on you on a sweater, that's detaching. Now you're like picking it off and it's reattaching somewhere else. There's a lot more action to that. And it's usually not a very pleasant experience because whatever is attached in there, however it got there, sometimes can feel very familiar, and it feels like a lot of work to detach. But that's what it feels like for me this year. I don't know about you guys. Do you feel that feeling of needing to detach and recreate something new? Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is I think I started the year off saying that 2020 is a great equalizer, right? It is the same stressor that all of us are experiencing all at once, right? It manifests in different ways, but it is the same stressor. And so we all have this opportunity, right, to take a look at this stressor from a different perspective, right?
So one thing that's interesting, Angie, about some of your numerology is that you're born on the 24th day of the month. So numerology, we always add together to get down to one digit. So that would be a 6.
Okay.
And then what's interesting also is that you're born in the 9th month, and the year of your birth is also equals a 9. So your life path is also a 6. So you have a 6th life path, and you're in the 6th energy right now of your life, because that's roughly between 25 and 52 that year. So now we're looking, and that's another important thing in numerology, like when are these patterns reoccurring? So I'm going to read to you from this book. And, I always love to read from a book, and I get different books that I like. I just picked this one up. And the reason I like to read it is because I know people. I've been working with people. I know their histories. I know a lot about them. So it sounds much better when it's someone else's interpretation of the number than me like doing my own interpretation. It might seem like I'm sort of making that up. So one of the things that's interesting about you, Angie, is you have sort of like, if I had to do the quote, the Angie quote, is sort of like you always say, I love the love, right? And that's something I know about you. So now we're going to go look at the number 6 as a base number, which means if you are,
And if anybody else has the same number out there, how would they know that?
Yeah, I'm going to say that right now.
Okay.
So what we're looking at, if you're born on a number that adds up to 6, so the 6th of the month, the 15th of the month, or the 24th of the month. Okay. 6 is the number of beauty in all its forms, as it seeks harmony and pleasure from its surroundings. Strong as immortal love and as passionate as a jilted lover, it changes the world by the depth of its devotion to others. Themes of boundaries and nurturing make this journey one of definite love by fulfilling one's own need before taking care of others. When trying to understand the 6, the key words are love and care. 6s are strong, enduring, loving, caring, sensitive, and harmonizing people. They are always attractive and have a magnetic draw on their surroundings. They will care genuinely for other people, and they are always ready to help out. As a balanced vibration, 6 is pure love. The 6s are gentle, sincere, and stubborn. A 6 will sacrifice his or her own needs to help loved ones, like a parent for their child. Then I'm going to skip ahead and just look at the life goals of a 6 is love, true devotion, and beauty. The life lessons are boundaries, balance in giving and receiving, listening to the needs of one's own mind, body, heart, and soul. And the spiritual abilities are healing of groups.
Well, all you beautiful 6s out there.
And then what's interesting is in the tarot deck, the 6 is the archetype of the lovers. And you'll see this kind of
the pattern, the trend.
Yep, these type of things. And then if I knew enough about astrology, we could also look at what is vibrating to the 6th energy with that. And it's probably Venus or something like that has to do with that. And that's what you find. And you get this confirmation in multiple directions of sort of this thing that you sort of know about yourself. And then you hear about it in something like this, and you're like, I knew it, I knew it. So, unfortunately, my life path is an 8. An 8 life path it looks like the infinity symbol, right? And so the 8 life path is about all these problems are going to come into your life, and you are going to be strengthened as you overcome each obstacle. And so it's constantly like an obstacle you're overcoming and getting stronger, an obstacle you're overcoming. And so now when stuff happens in my life, I'm almost kind of happy, and it's really annoying for you because you're always like, but it's like, okay, something good's coming because all this bad stuff is happening. And maybe that's why I'm, I think like we're pretty thriving in this 2020 chaos world. It's more suited to me than someone who is much more structured and grounded, like a 4 energy, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit how you can use numerology. And when we do the class, we're going to go way more in depth of how do you know what your numbers are? What is there to look for?
And,
how are you compatible?
And when you do the class, I mean, that you're going to do kind of everybody's numerology when you do that?
You're going to learn how to do your own, right? So learning how to do your own and understanding how to use the numbers is really important, because it's not a one and done. There's so many things like your personal year changes every year, your personal month, your personal day, all those kind of things. And so it's really heavy in like Vedic astrology, which is part of the Hindu culture, that they'll go to their, I don't know what their priests are called, but whatever their high spiritual person is, and their wedding date will be set specifically to be the most auspicious for them, for that couple. They'll do things like that. And throughout history, kings and queens have had astrologers or seers or whatever. Even, we don't talk about that, but we have that in the United States as well.
So if you're planning a wedding, you want to find out what day would be perfect.
Yeah. So that's what.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Were you done with what you were saying? Okay, so you both mentioned the class that you're going to do. I'm about to put the link in the chat just so people can have it for the end of this session and they know right where to go. But for now, will you tell us how long will this numerology class be and when does it start?
So I believe this is the Saturday one, right?
Yes.
28th.
Yes, of November.
I think you have more of the details, or do you not remember them?
No, yes, absolutely. It does start on Saturday, November 28th. So we have a couple weeks, and that will start at 11 a.m. Central Time. It goes for 1 hour. And then the following classes will be on December 5th, which is the next Saturday, and then the one after that, the 12th.
Right. And those classes are going to be interactive. They're going to be not like this where you're seeing us, but we don't see you. We will be able to see each other. We'll be having actual discussions and kind of grouping people by their numbers and showing you how to use those numbers, especially through meditation and other tools like chanting, of how you can really increase that vibration or the frequency. One of the things that the person I learned numerology from, he said the best way to really resonate to your own frequency is to write your name in capital letters, like every letter in capital letters, 25 times a day. And I literally have journals of doing this, and it looks really crazy.
It looks really crazy, yeah.
And for those of you who have changed your name or go by nicknames, we're talking about using the name on your birth certificate, whatever that name is, writing that over and over again, because your name, especially your first name, is the word you have heard most often in your life. It is your vibration. It is your glyph, so to speak. And, we don't talk like that so much, but before we had so many words, most people weren't literate on this planet for thousands of years, and they would use symbols. They would use symbols to be able to communicate things that have happened or what they've experienced in life. And there's a really cool book called The Magical Name. This is by Ted Andrews. And he talks about each of the letters as a glyph. And so for an example, my letter is a J, my first letter, and it's a hook, right? And so J energy is all your stuff that you've ever done is sitting in this hook and you drag it through life. So that's probably why I like to learn things and put it all together, because I don't let go of that stuff, right? Where somebody with an R, you have the R letter. So the R has a vertical line, which says that you're bringing down that spiritual energy into the physical. And then it has this ball here, which is where you're holding that energy. But then it has a leg that's walking out. So the R is constantly guiding you to step into the future.
Mm.
Yeah. And to be guided spiritually.
Or jumping sometimes.
So, those are different things like you energy, they fill up and then they have to empty out because they get so overwhelmed. So that's you energy. And that's another thing we'll talk about in the class is what are the consonants in your name mean? What do the vowels mean? And how can you use that? And the fun part about numerology is you can turn your name into a song. All of it is vibrationally musical notes on an instrument. You can turn your name into a painting, which we did a fun class on that because there's a connection to the colors related to our name and our number and our glyphs that actually can sort of paint your energy field.
So why would someone do that? Why would someone want to connect with that energy of their name?
So that you have clarity, so that you don't have so much confusion in life, especially, if your parents are a different vibration and they've domesticated you, like your parents, they always called you sensitive.
Yes.
And not in a positive
Not
way.
in a positive way.
And
like too sensitive.
Yeah.
Kind of
and your parents are very much more
intellectual
Yep.
and by the book.
Yep. They follow the rules and they don't like this idea of flow and change. They don't like that so much. Right. And so now that you are aware of yourself, you're like, oh, well, that wasn't a bad thing. That was actually a gift of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It just made them uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons that you would do that, so that you can really become who you came to be.
So this would help you kind of become grounded in your truth, in your authentic self, right? And getting connected with what your purpose and meaning is, right? And that's kind of what all of us are struggling with to find is what is my purpose and meaning in life? What motivates you when you get out of bed? And so this would be another perspective of being able to, connect with them.
Right. And people will often say, I just feel like I resonate to a number. They'll just say it like, I always see sevens, or seven's important to me, or something like that. So it is something we sort of have some weird sense about. Yeah. And if you think about that, Ange, do you have a number that you've always kind of saw a lot, or it just like, someone will be like, my jersey when I was a kid was this number, and then I lived on the street with this number, and then this with this number.
Darn, like I would love for one to really come into my mind. Like there's not one that on any given day I would explain to someone, oh, this is my number. But while you're asking the question, I want to have an answer. And I'd say for me, especially when you said things like, you lived on this street, this was your address. For me, it seems to be the number 4.
Okay.
So, it would take some time for us to look at all the things associated with your numbers, but you'll probably find a theme of that, or you might find a lack of that. So those are the two things you look at. So,
well, what is the energy of 4, of the number
4? 4 is structure, order, rules. The 4 is the square, right? So the square is a really solid structure that's very balanced. And it's a building number. It's even the number 4 looks like a box, So that's the builder number, and templates and rules and that kind of stuff. So you probably feel more comfortable when there's order and structure rather than when you don't really know what you can expect.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yes, that is accurate. I would say, most of my life so far, I've been more comfortable with order and trying to get more comfortable when things are not ordered as expected.
Yes. And then when you don't have that structure, that's when you kind of, well, all 4s, I should say, It would just lose their mind.
Oh, it is easy for you to say, right? I wonder if you have any experience with this. Ah,
So, and we don't even know where the 4 shows up for you, but that's those are some of the things that you could look for. And that's another important thing is if that's something that you're aware of yourself, then it might not be the best thing that you would want to have in every aspect of your life. And so you might want to have periods of time where you're painting and creating and doing things that aren't so structured so that your energy can find that balance back into the structured place. Just like cleaning, we've been doing some serious purging
Yeah.
this past week, and it's very chaotic in our house right now as we're getting cleaner. It's like you make the mess first and then you clean it up. And so all of those things, the point of Earth, which is the 3rd planet, is balance. We sit between Venus and Mars, which you've heard, Venus is the feminine energy, Mars is this masculine energy. We're trying to find this balance. So on Earth, we have all sorts of things like hot and cold and warm, black and white and gray, male and female and child. And we're always trying to find this balance. And so whatever energies we're talking about, it isn't that you want to have all of that type of energy. It's how do you find the balance of it? When are you too structured and when are you not structured enough, and to find that balance? And so that's another way of looking at things. And then when you understand that, you can look at activities like that. So that brings me to another class we're going to be offering. And you can tell me the dates and stuff, but you can look at it. It's in the library that you'll be able to find. I don't know if that one's there yet, on the chakras, and so for example, your chakras, it's about balance, right? So if your first chakra is your commitment to being alive, if you have too much, it's red. If you have too much red energy, you're angry, you're anxious all the time. You don't want to add red to that. You want to add the opposite of red, which is green. Green is made up of blue and yellow and doesn't have red in it, so it balances out the red. Or if you have too much of not enough red energy because you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to participate in life, you're just really stuck, then you want to add red energy. So that's how you use all this stuff.
And just kind of a side note, just an interesting, thing, and that is that there's 7 chakras. There's also 7 sacraments in the Catholic religion. There's also Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They all correspond with that as well. And Kabbalah too, right?
The tree of life has 7 layers.
Right.
Yeah, everything is like the same, a different language for the same pathway.
and you know what? Somebody did ask, so far you explained that numerology might be taking information from the numbers within your birthday. Also, you mentioned about how it could correspond with the letters in your name. But is there anything else you're going to talk about during your 3 classes that you're starting at the end of November?
Yeah, the universal stuff that's going on universally, like we talked about the 2020, and in particular, it's kind of interesting, but where we start in life also is where we meet where we are today. And so everyone's going to be taking 2020 a little bit differently because of their own kind of space and vibration. So yes, we'll be talking about all of that kind of stuff.
It just depends on where the burr is.
Right. So it's just a way to be more empowered in the world, and it's a way to understand ourselves at a level that is beyond what we can see, touch, taste, smell, and hear. And I find it to be very empowering for many people when they learn about these things and they go, I kind of knew it, but people around me were different frequencies and they've been trying to talk me out of that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you want to meditate?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions, Ange, or should we do some meditating?
Yeah, I think it would be a great time to meditate.
So again, get into a dignified position with your spine straight, as symmetrically as you can be. And just gently close your eyes. And as you're sitting in this position, you should feel like the number one. And the number one energy is bringing energy from the spirit down into physical and physical up into spirit. And think about the number one energy like a small child saying, so big. And think about where in your life are you stretching? Are you growing into new directions, exploring new things, and becoming more of the one that you are? And now think about the people you interact with as another one joins you, and there's two. How you communicate. Do you trust? Are you guarded? Get a sense of your relationship with this two energy. Think of it like a handshake, not too close to another, but definitely interacting. And now connect with the energy of the number three, with all its flowing in loops. This is the number of self-expression. How you create your uniqueness in the world. Spend a moment connecting with the number three and how you flow and what you have to offer. And now meditate on the number four. Feel that strong line going down into the earth where you're grounded and structured. Think of the things in your life that are very much unchanging, very stable. The house you live in, the way you go about in the world. Think about just getting out of bed in the morning and your routines and the way that you go about over and over again doing the same patterns. The way you drive to work, where you sit to eat your meals, all the things that are unchanging, ways that you've created the structure of your life. And now connect with the number five. Five goes back and forth and back. Think about the five energy like dancing. Five is the number of change and flow. Be aware of the parts of your life that are very flexible, where you're open to new ideas and situations. And you can easily move with those new changes that come in as you dance through life. And connect with the number 6 and see how 6 wraps around like a coil and circles in on itself. 6 is the number of intimacy and love. The people who are closest to you. The people that when you're with them, you feel like you're at home. Or the people who are closest to you that you need to set boundaries with because you feel invaded around them. Connect to the number 6, the intimate circle of your life. And now meditate on the number 7. Be aware of that diagonal line. It's almost like a staircase, bringing information all the way up to the top. 7 is the number of logic, reason, and spirituality. Think about the 7 like the thinking man. What are you contemplating? What are you trying to understand about yourself and the world that we live in? As information moves up and down the stairs, and you sit and look at it from this higher perspective as you contemplate with your mind. Making sense of things, understanding things, and growing through that understanding. And now connect with the number 8 that slowly and painfully moves up and then quickly flips over and comes down. The symbol of infinity, up and over, down and around, as you walk through life, dealing with the obstacles, the challenges, and the upsets, which offer you the greatest opportunity to learn and grow and become. And know that this 8 energy is always in motion. When life is difficult, know that this too shall change. Now focus your attention on the number 9. Feel its strong leg going up from the earth and opening up into this big circular space. The 9 energy is the energy of humanity. What good can you do in this world to help your fellow humans? as you understand that we are all connected and that all is one. The 9 has the number 1 in it, and then what it has to offer. What is your purpose and meaning? How can you bring your gifts and talents to the world? And be aware of these numbers as archetypes or glyphs or energy patterns, so much more vibrant and alive than adding or subtracting that you learned in grade school. Be aware of which numbers you like the most and which numbers make you the most uncomfortable. Either way, find balance. Every moment is an opportunity to look at the patterns and cycles we have, the seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days, the months, and the years of our lives. Honor the sacred journey that you're on with all these beautiful cycles. And bring your awareness back to your heart. Being aware of yourself in this place, in this time, wherever you are on the earth, in the present. And take 3 conscious breaths and gently open your eyes. Thank you for spending a little bit of your evening with us. And if you have any questions, feel free to, what's the best thing? I guess email right now. Things have been a little chaotic with our stuff. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Yes, next Tuesday.
And if you know someone who'd like to join us, share the link and have them come on board. We'd be happy to have them.
Also, make sure that you join the Facebook group Connections through the Couples Synergy Facebook page. That is where we're going to be doing kind of more
Couples Synergy Community.
Couples Synergy Community, right? Couples Synergy Community. It's a group, and that's where we're doing like more open discussions and just kind of a way for people to really discuss what their experiences are or have any questions too.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
Have a wonderful week.
Thanks, Ange, for hosting.
Thanks. Bye-bye.